Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Resident Evil 4 with the fan-made HD texture mod. We're doing the uh, Ada Wong separate ways. And this is Chapter 3 jumps you in the middle of the castle, skipping some of the, other sections of the castle. And gives you this choice of going either through one door or the other, and it kind of points you to the other door, so I'm going to go through the one I think that is less likely to be traveled. Alright, the problem with this is any shield guy is going to have to be taken out that way. And with a semi-automatic rifle, that's pretty easy to do. So I assume if you came through the other door and started that way, then there would just be a different way in which you go about things. Come on. Let me get the angle right. The dead zone and the targeting on this is still oddly high. Now remember, Ada Wong has the hook shot, so she can just straight up hook shot herself through this instead of doing that. And this is an hourglass, which may be a key, actually, more than a treasure. I didn't pick that up, and then it didn't want to prompt me to pick it up. Can't get it open because we have to leave it locked for the other team. And then we'll just look over here and see that there's another guy. One thing that I guess is nice here is that Separate Ways does allow for you to experience some different guns, but I don't know if it really does that much of an experience, because like this shotgun just is basically, I think, a different skin from the original skin. This is the blacktail. This is the same TMP, although all of these are upgraded at high levels to start off with. I don't know if you even can play with this shotgun as Leon. And then this is just the upgraded semi-auto rifle. So one playthrough on hard, unlock professional, which would then have you start over on professional mode, and you would have to, at that level, decide whether you want to play with the guns that you've already become familiar with, or if you would want to change things up. And if you're doing any kind of planning, you would already know sticking with the original guns is, for the most part, the best decision, unless you just have a completely different play style. He's still alive. So we'll just pour a ton of gold into, a ton of bullets into him. The birds aren't anywhere. For as many of the kind of side story elements in this game that are getting explained away, it's a little funny that the pros aren't attempted to be explained away as being somehow more important than you would think. The problem That's just a massive amount of damage I had to do there. This is really highlighting the problem with the handgun here, is that when something gets really close to you, you can't use it. And it's just not at a level of damage that is useful. A lot of doors just saying I can't open it. How odd. Let's go ahead and switch over to our grenade launcher and see if we're going to have any insects in here at all. I see something, but is that maybe the merchant? Yes, it is. So, let's not shoot the merchant. The game certainly could have gone down that route and screwed the player over in a few places by having the merchant show up and shoot him. But that would just be mean, really. For lack of a more descriptive term, it would just be cruel to encourage the player to shoot the merchant. We use the handgun, so we're getting a lot of handgun ammo, and we're picking up really small amounts of really small amounts of gold when we do pick up gold. Alright, gold bangle with pearls. We can sell.
Thank you.
I'm gonna hold on to the green cat's eye, red cat's eye, and yellow cat's eye. We can sell the elegant perfume bottle. And noticeably, we can't sell the other thing. So we're about 5,000 short of getting the bow gun. And maybe the idea would be to get the bow gun as fast as possible so that we could get maybe more bow gun bolts, if that's really how the bow gun bolts drops work. But it may also be that they are set in their state. Plus, if we finish this chapter and there's another chapter, we may get a bigger case or something else more expensive. If I was to sell anything and buy a new version of it, it wouldn't have any upgraded stats. It doesn't seem like that's the case. There could be an interesting trick around that, certainly, where if you in each chapter sell the weapon and buy it back, you would get more of a reward. But yeah, it doesn't seem like that's what's gonna happen. So by coming in through this door, I guess it gives me the opportunity to create a shooting gallery. Which lets me dump handgun bullets. Which you could argue this is wasting handgun bullets, or you could argue that this is putting the handgun bullets to their absolute best use and conserving on other bullets. And see, now I could go back and buy the bow gun. Let's see if we can actually aim through this and hit this guy. Yeah, this is another one of these areas where the fan-made HD remaster really shines, and you compare it to the boring rock textures that had to be there in the island. So your other option would have been to come through this door, and then that would have just been a wider hallway. You could have still probably targeted somebody, but in this case they would have been able to, if you had a beat on them, jump to the side, where going around the opposite direction it was a much more narrow hallway. Alright. I guess the question is, can I get the bow gun now? Because now wouldn't be the worst time to start with the bow gun. If we are going to fight a Wolverine character, which I suspect we will,
Welcome.
we probably should just pull that trigger.
Got a selection of good things. What are you buying?
It's very possible there's nothing else to buy anyways in the game.
What are you selling?
Sell one flash grenade. We may very well need to sell more.
Is that all?
Okay. Cancel. Say that we need to sell more flash grenades.
What are you selling?
Fortunately, you can cancel there, although the risk does seem high that would cause some other problem.
Is that all,
a single golden chicken egg being sold isn't going to help that much.
What are you buying?
So, I'm hoping I can just squeeze it in here, but I suspect I can't. Might be able to. Because, let's see. We take this, we put it there. We take this, we put it not there. Take this, put it there. Take this, put it there. That and that is too much, so we'll do that. And we do that. Yeah. That leaves us with very, very little room. Certainly. We've got 2 spaces here, 1 space here.
Thank you. Come back anytime.
So let's go ahead and just equip it. You have a laser sight on it, it fires. Let's go ahead and just examine it. 16.6 with 1 capacity. You'd almost think that it was a stealth thing that would just quietly kill things, but nope. Instead, they've gone all out and made it explosive bolts. Of course, they tell you that in the bolts. They don't tell you that in the actual weapon. So if for instance I examined these bullets and it said these are 9mm rounds that have explosive powder on them, that would be shocking. I guess you could run back and save too, but just not anticipating anything. I guess I don't even have to solve the puzzle. The door is already open. So what I need to do I think, is put the treasure in here. Right. Yeah, it's kind of impossible to survive through this. Your health, even though it's let you build up your health quite a bit, like it's just not likely that you would survive that. Shotgun didn't really work. I don't think explosive bolts will work. So your next hope would be TMP. Anywhere you go close enough into the room is going to lock you into a room. Right. Yeah, and see, the TMP isn't gonna open the door there. And so what I'm doing is I'm just dying a couple times to let the game decide to be easier on me. Although in that scenario, I don't know how it can be much more easier on me. Like, this is where a hook shot would make some sense. Like, that. Just like cheap shots galore. You don't have a broken butterfly here. So there's not really a way there's just not really a way to do more damage. And there's not really a way to get out of this room. It may be a case, straight up, that the TMP bullets are specifically designed to not break it. And how in the world would you have ever figured that out? That seems incredibly unfair to players, that they would have had to just figure out that their TMP guns would never have worked. And see, Leon has already crossed this path, and the bow bolt. The problem with that is that it explodes. Like, if the bow bolts didn't explode, then then you would be able to use that particularly well in that fight. My other option certainly there would have been to just actively, let's see. It's not going to work, is it? Once you've done that, it will just swap them. I guess with a little bit more organizing, there is actually quite a lot of space here. Now. Room for more bullets, at least. Her little curve floats way too much as far as her little ribbon on her back. That's an example of like early hair physics in experimentation form, how it just doesn't flow quite naturally, and we still really don't have hair / rope physics done particularly well. And certainly it gets more complicated if you try to do more strands of hair. So this is Leon in a pre-rendered cutscene. He's fighting a whole bunch of them.
I'm sorry, but I can't be seen with you.
And so she's straight up just going to leave him and leave this room and not do anything at all. There is a treasure on the other side of this room for us to collect, and I kind of think that is it. See, an improved version of this idea certainly would be to actually have Leon capable of spotting Ada, which would just break reality as far as what happened in Leon's story. There's an elegant chessboard. You can't switch this or trigger this. And then I don't think you can grab any of the rocket launcher. We wouldn't even have room for the rocket launcher. We would struggle to possibly have enough room to just take it to the shopkeeper and sell. It was a little too close there. Yeah. We're having to go into the menu a lot more than before to just switch between guns, which really highlights the need for a weapon wheel, and a good weapon wheel, not like the Resident Evil 6 no pausing menu weapon selection. Yeah. I can't imagine anybody really would have enjoyed the Resident Evil 6 menus. But Leon sees me. Now I'll have to finish him up. In the last recording, we didn't even talk about it, but Wesker ordered Ada to kill Leon, and so that is why she is hiding from him. If I start getting more bolts, I'm gonna really struggle to have more room. And I guess the question here is just, in this next hallway, are we taking on zombies or granados? Yes, we are. Which This does a little backstory, I guess, as far as why this hallway would have been empty. If you needed that backstory as to why certain hallways are empty in the game. I don't know if you really do need that, though. And then a flash grenade stuck to the ceiling, which doesn't make any sense. And this is where the merchant will be later. Again, if you had done a different story, and pausing does not mute the music when it really should, because if you're getting a phone call right now, and you would want to be able to pause to mute the music, and nothing is really doing that. Which, with the music not being paused, it gives the implication that the game is still proceeding and time is not paused, which is not the case. But yeah, it would make a lot of sense if you were working for the merchant and placing items down for him, for Leon to find, and clearing out nests. You could have like the insect creatures having glowing pustules of nests where the merchant is going to set up his camp, and you just have to clear it out, or just zombies where the merchant is going to be. Interesting. All the doors are locked here, so here we don't have any care about Ashley at all. Thought there was gold behind this. There's nothing in those two, which is a little weird. And when I walk too close, we just see the Leon cutscene. Now, they did not establish at any point that Wesker has some kind of video recording or audio recording device on him. So why can Ada not lie? I don't know. Also, that leg comes from under Sadler, not out of the head of Sadler. So
my boy Salazar
you can jokingly say that really was his like penis he just stabbed Lewis with.
I am a researcher.
That's almost
by Sadler. He
almost
found
makes
out
more
what I was up
sense to have a sexist character like Lewis established as a sexist at the very beginning, and then be destroyed by a phallic object.
Sadler took it. You have to get
But that's
it
not
back.
really the fate I wanted for Lewis. I didn't care about Lewis enough to even want him to have a fate.
Lewis!
But right now, Ada could just put her gun to the head of Leon, say, give me the sample, take the sample, and run away. And then say, I got the sample and I never ran into Leon. And we get the pills that he never takes.
I found Louise. Unfortunately, a bit too late.
Did you retrieve the sample?
No, Sadler has it.
There will be another time. Have you had a chance to eliminate Leon?
Not yet.
If that's the case, then maybe we can capitalize on his little lucky streak. Take advantage of the distraction he is causing for Sadler and his followers to retrieve the sample.
Oh, I guess the thing here that I'm misunderstanding is that Sadler did take the sample, and Lewis only had the pills, and she didn't want to take Sadler on directly, which honestly would have made more sense if she had taken on Sadler earlier in a previous chapter and just been completely defeated by him and knew she couldn't win, or thought she couldn't win against him, or if even she had spied him doing something really powerful and knew she couldn't win. Because honestly, I feel like you could.
Jack Krauser has been the subject of extensive study and
Ada-
research by the organization. His
Ada
skills and
could
personality
very
have been
well
tested both
believe
on
she
and
could
off the
defeat
battlefield.
Sadler at this point.
If he weren't the best, he would become a liability that would jeopardize the rest of us. My conclusion? He's a great soldier. No more, no less. As long as he's well compensated, he shouldn't cause any problems for us. If he does start to get restless, I can take care of him. I've studied his combat style and can deal with that arm of his if necessary.
So somehow she knows about his arm.
Krauser answers directly to Wesker, and it was Wesker who decided that Krauser should be sent to spy on the cult. He also decided to send me along. I wonder if it wasn't to keep an eye on Krauser. No doubt.
So when you're
Krauser has
getting
already fallen to the temptation
in-game
of those
cutscenes,
Plagas
this looks
and the
good.
power they represent.
When you're getting
This
pre-rendered
could have dire
cutscenes, it looks
consequences for the
terrible.
organization. On some level, however, this may be a necessary development, as his role is
Again,
to
we're getting
disrupt
cutscenes,
this farce of a
just
play.
showing more content that hasn't happened
That
yet.
said, the stage and its players will ultimately come crashing down in the end. Bad luck for him.
The way these
But
chapters
he'll
play
play
out,
the
you
patsy
almost
in the end and
wonder
take
if
the
they
fall
were
for all of
planning
us.
on doing an
That's
episodic,
why I need to
like,
make sure
5-part
things
DLC
keep
in this
going
game, but
exactly as they are.
that just wouldn't have been the case. You couldn't possibly have made an episodic DLC game when this was released. Even if they were having the beginnings of thinking about doing that kind of content, it would have been 10 years off, nearly. Because the PlayStation 2 didn't by default even have a internet connection, let alone people having internet service. So we're skipping, I imagine, the rest of the castle, since they're talking about Krauser, and jumping into
What's the news
the
on our
island.
friend Leon?
He's not making
We
it
just
easy.
saw part of
The
this.
sample?
Sadler's got it.
This
It seems he
cutscene.
sniffed out our little game.
Perfect.
Just so we understand each other clearly, I don't trust you, nor does Wesker. If you try to do anything clever, I will kill you.
Is that so? You know, I met Wesker long before you.
We'll see soon enough if you did.
Yeah, we'll see.
And see, as somebody who hasn't played the previous, like, Resident Evil 1, 2, or 3, I don't know which of those two did meet
Quite a
Wesker
jolly
first.
mess he's made, that Leon, but all for the better. Sadler's people have fallen into a panic. Their destruction is only a matter of
They
time
misspelled
now.
there.
Once he gets Ashley back, his job will be finished.
And the
He'll no
subtitles.
longer be a factor.
No, I'm leaving Leon to Krauser. Hurry up and retrieve the sample.
Maybe you forgot, Wesker. I don't always play by your rules.
So she's keeping the PDA in her, like, leg gun coaster. Okay. So immediately running into the merchant, and then we're running down a section that I think is where Ashley was driving the car to get to Krauser. So not a very big area. Do we have any time
Welcome.
limitations? There's definitely a feeling
Got a
that it
selection
is
of good things on what are you selling?
that there is some time considerations here, but I don't know if that's really
that
the
all
case.
Ah. Thank you. Ah.
We'll just continue to hold on to these, because why not? It doesn't even matter.
What are you buying? Is that
We
all?
can spend 10,000 to get the treasure
Thank
map.
you.
And then the only other thing that would even be available to us is the scope for the semi-auto rifle. And I know there aren't enough achievements. There's only like 3 achievements left in the game that I could possibly get. So I know there isn't going to be one for just buying everything in the store. What we don't have here is an increase in our attaché case.
Anytime.
See, I guess this is past the point where the truck had already driven through. So alright. 2 guys with shields is gonna take too long. Go ahead and reload. Which way should we go? We should go this way first. There's a hook shot to get up high. And see, I suspect the idea at that point is to... These guys really don't want to be shot in the head. Yep. I suspect the idea was to get these hook shots to let you reach areas of safety. Just trying to turn around. Problem here is that this would be where your bow gun would be useful. And I think it's only going to be relatively useful in this instance. Did we get everything up here? I think we did. So then we've got to figure out the spots where we can jump down, which seems to be fairly limited. The other problem that's going to start showing its ugly face here is that we're going to be out of room. And yeah, I've just got to toss that, which is fine because I really wasn't going to use that too much anyways. You can see a little bit of clipping on the side there. And tossing things does not leave it on the ground for you to pick it up later. They disappear instantaneously. And yeah, I think the game is just gonna kind of screw us here in kind of an unfair way, because there's a lynx here that I can't get I'm confused. There's a lynx here. There's bows here. Is there another way around to reach all of this? I see a door. So I guess we have to go around and come back. This music, I'm not sure this music actually plays in the main game at all. It's interesting, perhaps a little more upbeat, but wouldn't call it bad. It definitely encourages the player to want to keep on moving forward. I suppose if you hadn't taken the big bow gun, you'd probably have plenty of space at this point. Running out of room again. I'm not sure these tires were used in the main game. They probably were tires that were on the trucks, and then now they're making it almost like this is a tire storage closet. It is very nice to be able to just have multiple shots without doing the reload. The problem with it, though, is that I'm not sure in the main story, in the main game, there's enough of an experience to really justify the need for the multiple shots. And we jump over into a thing, which didn't see that coming. Was that enough to kill him? Or did I just knock him down? That's probably a good point to waste some handgun bullets. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if it turns out that there's like no way to get all of the what am I trying to say? It doesn't seem like you're going to be able to actually upgrade her health to the maximum at this rate. It doesn't seem like you would ever be able to upgrade the guns. And oddly, even though you do have what are labeled as cat's eyes, and you have a lynx, which is effectively a cat, I don't think these combine. So unless there are more treasures after this point, which I kind of doubt, you're going to have a Link's that has no components to pick up, or maybe just one, which that'd be even weirder, and then you are going to have the Cat's Eyes that has no beer stein to pick up. Even if I had found the beer stein, does any of it matter? They're also doing a weird experiment here in which you can climb up on this one area, and I suppose you may have to then walk over here, to then climb up, to then jump down. And that is just an experiment that doesn't get used anywhere else. There could have been a mechanic themed section, certainly. One more area that would have been more focused around cars or vehicles. Although that doesn't really work with the game. Being in a vehicle at any point in this game breaks the Resident Evil series. You see that particularly in Resident Evil 5 when you're on the back of a Jeep and you're doing a whole Jeep sequence, which I won't inherently say was just always going to be bad, but it really wasn't Resident Evil. And when you're fighting a Ganado in Resident Evil 5 with a machine gun with a machine gun attached to the back of a Jeep, that definitely didn't feel like Resident Evil at that point. In a similar way, even running and gunning is just not something that quite feels correct. And this is straight up a boat in the Navy section, which that doesn't make any sense. That they could possibly have a boat Navy section. Come back and the music starts again over in here. There is a whole other spot to this. So are we getting back? Or what? Like, this door is locked. And this hook shot only lets you go one way. So I kind of just have to assume that the game is wrong here, or that this is, unless there's a new game plus element to this. Yeah, it seems like we have to go through this door here, see a Navy boat, and then exit through this door. I would have sworn that, for the most part, this whole village and this whole area was landlocked. There's really nothing that would have made me think it was on any major seas or oceans. There was the lake, certainly, but a lake is encircled by land. And what's funny now is this makes me wonder if some of my memories of being on a boat may actually be from this game. It's a gun battery, requires an activation key, blue, to work. And so there's a whole sequence here we can just leave it and not take it. But we can't get to a merchant anywhere until we're out of this room. So unless we had to run through this room multiple times, may not help us much. So it sounds like we've got a lot of use that and still be nearly dead. Okay. Was it worth it to take that? Was it worth it to take any of this at this point? Or should I be running for the activation key? And only the activation key. I think I should be running only for the activation key to destroy the guns first and deal with everything else later. Alright. We'll take the TMP ammo since we could, but then we should just not try and pick up anything else. In fact, even taking the TMP ammo was probably a mistake. There's a gun up here. And then is the activation key here? Looks like it is. So just start the fight. Yep, that didn't work either. Problem is your health is just too low, and it's not like you've got armor on or anything. And take that, and run. Use that to upgrade our health. I should have done that earlier. And then check and use, which means fire. We've got special, stronger metal bullets. And so our special, stronger metal bullets then, well, were blocked that way, so I missed a couple of bullets, but whatever. We just want to generally look and see if we see anybody else that we can shoot. So far, nope. Looks like we're good there. And we're kind of good on health. So this puts us in a decent position now to goof around in some safety. What are we really looking for? Not that much, really. More bolts probably will be helpful in some final boss fight, but that's kinda it. I'll take the flash grenade and potentially have to drop the flash grenade. There's nobody shooting at me, so I feel very safe. The hook shot doesn't seem to really be too big of a deal. We've got extra health kits or first aid sprays, so we should probably do something with that idea. But easiest choice certainly is to just discard a flash grenade for more sniper rifle ammo. This requires a red key to work. So, interesting. There's a typewriter to save, there's a gate. There's a thing, a box, but I'm generally just not seeing any enemies or anything like that, so I'm not even seeing more guns. So if I was going to need more guns, absolutely nothing happened there. Is there somebody behind me? This really is a great example where you need to be capable of getting just gold when you start to run out of room. It would be so easy for the game to say, let's let the player trade the gold, trade the item for gold, or just change the item drop to gold when the inventory is full. And particularly in this case, if you were to end up with just a ton of extra gold, it kind of doesn't matter. Again, try to make better use of our handgun ammo. We know it doesn't really do much, but just pour it into the chest of enemies. Need 6 more shots. Or, you know, I could just do that. Although, in all fairness, why not do that? And we have like 14 bolts in one pile here, so I don't know if there is a particularly low maximum as far as what a stack would be. There may be almost an infinite number of bolts that you can have, although in reality you just wouldn't have that many bolts. Alright, 10 shotgun shells, worth more than 5 handgun shells. And then this handgun ammo we'll just leave. Waiting for it to explode. Well, definitely color me confused as far as just what is going on with the red key. If anything, it just feels like the game or this section is just not finished. Or nope, there is more content. I don't remember this boat sequence at all, so yeah, I may very well have just not gotten this far in separate ways. Like when I would have been playing this game originally, or this part of the DLC, I wouldn't have been that much of a completionist, so I was always pretty much a completionist, but I could see myself just cutting myself some slack and getting distracted, or getting busy with something else. Really, was that all that needed to happen? Was one shot? Noticeably, I seem not to be able to kill the enemies with these shots. Like the beam is right on them. We've got a timer here, also playing. Gotta figure out where the other guy is. Well, I hit one guy with that. Seems like we probably have plenty of time. see. Trying to just get a general idea of how many people may be left to shoot. I think the numbers are kind of low, but it does seem like I probably am gonna run into some people. Interesting, the timer pauses for just a second there, and I guess there was gold on that other one, but we won't bother to get that. Why do we have a timer? I have no idea. That didn't get explained. Now is not the time to be reloading a lot, so we'll just leave that. And none of those guys dropped anything, which makes me wonder if they were more infinitely spawning type enemies. I don't like this, so I'm just going to run. Seems like we may just need to yeah. It would make a lot more sense for either Wesker, Krauser, or Ada to have planted those mines. If that should have been like a separate mission Wesker gave you to blow up that boat, and then accidentally you get knocked down and hit the button. It would eliminate some of the coolness factor, which they're obviously trying to have a very, very high coolness factor for all the characters in this game, but it would make a lot of sense to just let the let there be an explanation, where here there is no explanation, and we get some more bolt guns, bolt bullets. I'm kind of just keeping the TMP bullets for that fight that we've already seen with Sadler in the laboratory, and you know she was using a TMP at that time, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense for her to
Got a selection of good. What are you
have
selling?
the TMP at that time. Alright. First aid spray sells for more, so I could sell some of those, but
Is that all?
what am I even trying to sell
you.
things for? We literally, at this point, are just trying to sell
Is that all?
for room.
Thank you. What
Nothing
are you
else.
buying?
There's just nothing to buy,
Come
so
back
the
anytime.
amount of gold you have doesn't matter. I thought green sold for more, but I guess not, so with that new knowledge, we'll do that. But yeah, you definitely, if you're going to play New Game Plus on this, you would want to have a larger inventory just to feel more free and less constricted. The whole game, as a separate side thing, is fairly constricted and does create this weird experience where it just feels like this is half of a game or half of a concept of a game that potentially would have been in Resident Evil 5, but they decided to go a completely different direction in Resident Evil 5. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a lot of there was a couple of giving up and starting overs that happened in the development process of Resident Evil 5, and Separate Ways was one of the early ideas. Or it may have been that Separate Ways was always going to be something like a Code Veronica separate game completely, and they gave up on that idea too. It doesn't even really sound like Capcom for them to resell Resident Evil 4 by adding new content when Resident Evil 4 on its own, even the GameCube version, sold so well that they could have just ported it with no new content. And that's what we have seen is much more the tradition now, is that you never get, or you very, very rarely get any extra content when a game is ported or re-released 5 years later, 2 years later, even 10 years later. Yeah, very rarely do you get any extra, like, editorial, creative content type stuff. You'll get remasters a lot of times that makes the graphics look a little bit better, but they don't hire new writers, they don't make new levels, they don't make new models. And yeah, we're still going through this, but this is effectively feeling like 5 hours of gameplay content, which, if I suppose you just weren't really feeling Resident Evil 4 and you played it like on easy, you could get out of this game just playing the main story probably in 15 to 18 hours. And then if you weren't interested in doing the mercenaries, which I'm not, and you weren't interested in doing Assignment Ada or Separate Ways, which I'm not, well, I'm not interested in mercenaries, I am interested in Separate Ways and Assignment Ada, you might just not play any of that content. Or I guess if you just exited out after seeing the credits and didn't see that the whole first main menu had changed, you would miss out on a lot of content. Noticeably though, this game is not getting to 60 hours of gameplay, although I imagine your average Resident Evil 4 fan has played it for way more than 60 hours, because they've done one run, then a new game plus, or a professional run. Like, the game clearly wants you to spend at least 60 hours in the game, because a new game plus would be another 20 hours, maybe a little bit less, on top of the first 20 hours of the main story. And then playing on professional and starting over at that point would be another 20 hours. So you have at least 60 hours there, plus this DLC, which if you were going to play it at least once, adds another 5 hours. And maybe this would even convince a few people to play Separate Ways a second time in a new game plus, although really wouldn't change that much to play it a second time. I guess I'm somewhat glad they didn't drastically change Resident Evil 4 by cramming Separate Ways into the main game, because that is a possibility as far as how it would have been released in more modern times, is that you would have a director's cut version of Resident Evil 4, where you all of a sudden are just playing as Ada and it's changing the story and changing the flow and the pacing of the experience. And so I'm glad they kept it separate, but then they didn't fully keep it separate because the story and the levels are really a lot of reused content. Anyways, we've gone an hour and I don't want to drone on too long, so that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to further follow me on any social media, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.